there probably has been points where they have taken it too far, particularly on the Lewis side, but you're going to expect that. And regardless of that, coming into the press to do it is not the right thing to do.
You're expecting drivers, the sport is expecting drivers to speak straight after coming out of the car. So we know that, they're dehydrated, they're knackered, their mind is probably frazzled, they've got adrenaline running through their veins. Think they're going to say things. They just are. They're
that's why
going
you'd
to be
hope for that
asked
understanding.
questions and they're going to... Well, exactly. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Fast and the Curious, the Formula One podcast that talks to some of the biggest names in the sport. Go back and look, by the way, if you don't believe us. We really do. And also debriefs and previews all of the Grand Prix. And that is what we are doing now. I am Betty Glover. With me is Christian Hugill, who is in Las Vegas. Christian, it is 1 degrees in Manchester. Is it colder in Las Vegas?
No. So as we record this, no, it isn't. We're recording this at 10 a.m. my time. And therefore, that is late night, or 6 p.m. your time, Betty, in the UK. And something that I've spotted a lot when I've been telling people, Formula One fans as well, that I'm going out here, is that even though we've had 2 events, some people still don't grasp the coldness. So as I talk to you, Betty, live weather, it's 12 degrees Celsius and glorious sunshine. But the thing
Manchester wins then.
Yeah, well, but the temperature drops in the evening. So basically, I got on the plane, arrived here, got to the hotel, had some food and went to bed. That's all I've done, and got up and done this. But when I got to the hotel yesterday evening, in fact, when I got off the plane, it was chucking it down and bitterly cold. And that was, I'm arriving at the time that they'd be going out for like qualifying. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But it's uncharted territories for F1 that I'm getting off the plane being like, this is when cars would be on track. And it is, as you said, Betty, Manchester in the UK winter weather and chucking it down. So could be interesting. But as we speak, no, it's sunny. It's glorious sunshine to my right as I sit and talk to you in my hotel room, which if you're watching on YouTube, as you just said, Betty, before we started recording, you'll see my lovely curtains.
Yeah, they clash. They clash with your shirt. And just quickly, have you bought heated socks with you or like a heated gilet? Have you got jumpers, gloves? That was the crack.
Last year, I was warned about the cold and I sort of went, yeah, but I want to look smart anyway. And this year, I've gone, forget looking smart. I'm going to wrap up. I think you get wiser in your second year of doing Vegas. So I've got boots, big, thick boot socks. I think the key to keeping a good body temperature, Betty, is insulate the feet. I've long said it. So I've
totally agree. Yeah, feet and hands.
Feet and hands. So I've got some big boots, some socks. You'll see the attire for the weekend is going to be thick overshirt. And then I've got, Betty, you know me again, for a good insulated layer, leather. Leather.
Oh, yeah.
So it worked a treat in the shakedown episodes at Silverstone. So I've got the leather jacket, then the big puffer jacket over that.
On the shakedown episodes, I went for suede. You went for leather. Suede did not keep me warm.
Oh, leather did. Leather was great. So leather jacket with puffer jacket over the top. And I've even got a Fast and Curious woolly hat, because it's the only woolly hat I own. So I'm going to be doing some merch repping. Thank you. In the paddock this weekend. Yeah.
I've just ordered some heated socks, like with a button and everything, like with an electric heated socks and hand warmers, because I'm presenting Women's Champions League tomorrow at Stamford Bridge, and it's supposed to be like -5.
I think we're both going to get cold, but I think you'll beat us. I don't think we'll dip into the minuses.
Minuses. Well, thrilled. I don't thrive in the cold like Mercedes do, unfortunately. So
lovely, very nice.
I shall be slow. My mind doesn't work. Anyway, right, we'll stop talking about the weather and what we've bought, because in today's episode, we're going to discuss who is best placed to perform well in the cold streets of the Nevada desert. Not me, not Christian. We'll also give our takes on what is going on upstairs at Ferrari and also set the scene for the F1 Academy finale. But first, I also want to apologise to all of our international viewers, by the way, and listeners, for rightly pointing out. And I did get a lot of messages about this, so I am really sorry.
Welcome to my world.
But I don't have a leg to stand on moaning about the time difference to Vegas because I've been dreading this weekend.
Yes.
I don't want to get up at 4 a.m. It doesn't work for me, guys. I'm moaning. It's a nightmare. But so many of our listeners have to deal with the time difference and they don't moan. So they don't want to listen to us do it. So
No, fair.
So
Do you know what? Fair play.
yeah, fair play. But it's still not ideal, is it? 4 a.m. It's not ideal.
No, we'd all rather it. Even
right.
if you have it every weekend, you'd still not rather it.
Still not rather it, but we've just got to do what we've got to do, haven't we?
You've just made me think the debrief podcast could be absolute chaos because I'll be doing it late at night, like well gone midnight. You'll be doing it first thing in the morning. Neither of us have got the best competence at the best of times. It'll be chaos.
No, I mean, I can't string a sentence together now,
No.
let alone at 5 a.m. in the morning. Or
So join us on Sunday for that. We look forward to your company.
Well, we've sold that one, but it is going to be good, and we're all going to wake up for it, right? Because Lando Norris is on 390 points. Oscar Piastri, 24 points behind him on 366. It basically means, everybody, that Lando can afford to finish second to Piastri in the remaining 3 races and the Qatar sprint as well and still win the title. And Max Verstappen is on 341. That's 49 points adrift. We've still got 83 points to go, so we're not ruling that one out either. So we're going to talk all about that. But shall we start with Ferrari, Christian? Because this has been all over my social media. Everybody is talking about it. The question is, are the Ferrari drivers talking too much? And is it distracting them from the track?
Yeah, so if you've missed this all came about pretty much the day or two after the last race. And the Ferrari chairman, John Elkann, said that the drivers need to focus on driving and talk less, and was critical about the way the drivers have been doing down the car over the course of the season. We won't read the full quotes, but there was things like, our mechanics, we've had world-class pit stops, sort of thing. So it was a strange thing to say. Betty, let me answer your question first. Are the drivers talking too much? There have been times this season where Lewis has come out with some really strange stuff, I felt. So to answer your question directly, possibly sometimes, yes. There's been some times where they have gone into the pen, Lewis in particular. I'm talking sort of pre-summer break, right, where he had
like
that...
What?
Well, he sort of said on a couple of occasions, "Oh, well, I wish you guys knew what was going on." And then when pressed to tell us what was going on, it was like, "Oh, I can't say." And I found situations like that a little bit strange because it's like, either tell us what's going on behind the scenes, because you sort of fuel the conspiracy theorists if you say, "Oh, I only wish you guys knew what was going on," and things like that. I might have slightly misquoted Lewis there, but it was along those lines. But listen, this is fairly minor stuff from Lewis. There's only been once or twice this season where I've thought, actually, I wouldn't have said that. It's minor. And it hasn't happened for a while. There was that point pre-summer break where Lewis felt quite really, really, really down, both on himself, probably more than the team. So I'm not saying that's a major thing here, Betty. But to me, regardless of that, I'm answering your question here. Have they talked too much? On an occasion, yes, to be balanced. But I still think that is a mad thing for John to come out and say. I hope he's been slightly misquoted, or it sounds worse in print than he meant it to when he was talking, if that makes sense. Because I also think it's quite a worrying thing to say.
Yeah, so do I. And I also think he's sort of, why don't you listen to yourself then, John, and actually go and speak to the drivers instead of speaking to the media? I think go and speak to your drivers. Why are you publicising it like that? I don't understand.
100,000%. Regardless of whether Lewis or Charles has on occasion over a long 24 race season, when they get interviewed several times a weekend, regardless of if they've taken it a step too far on one of those occasions, as I said, Lewis has once or twice in my view, fine. Going into the media is not the right thing to do. And also, I think you've got to accept that if you're signing Lewis Hamilton, particularly at this stage in his career. Lewis has always been a driver that's been vocal. He's never been backwards in coming forwards with an opinion. We love him for that.
Yeah.
It's who Lewis is. He drives from the front. Betty, do you remember in our really early episodes of The Fast and the Curious going to watch Mercedes shakedown? You pointed out, Betty, just how across everything he was. We, as sports fans, found it fascinating to watch him work. He is across everything. And to me, if you're signing Lewis Hamilton at this stage of his career, you're going to expect that. This is a guy who's done it all, won it all, been competitive across different eras. So I sort of think you're being very naive. It's all very well me saying Lewis might have stepped the mark once or twice, but you've got to expect that if you're signing Lewis Hamilton, particularly at this stage of his career, particularly when he's being bought into a team like Ferrari, who have perennially underperformed for years. And I tell you why it's worrying, Betty, because here's us sat there saying Ferrari need to stick with the management structure. We've said this so many times this season. There's been so much chopping and changing. They need to sort of, stick with something if they're going to win. That doesn't suggest a happy camp. And to me, it doesn't suggest someone leading from the top who knows what he's doing. You just wouldn't, if you were running Ferrari, come out and criticise Charles Leclerc for all he has done for that team, the servant that he is. And Lewis Hamilton, given the way you've signed him, you just wouldn't come out and criticise them in a million years, would you? I just find it a bizarre thing to do.
I wonder whether he meant it more in the way of sort of Ferrari is one of, if not the biggest team in Formula One. Don't come at me, but it is massive. And when you drive for Ferrari, you've got so much pressure on your shoulders, so much outside pressure. It's an iconic team. You've got the whole of Italy wanting you to win. And I wonder whether he just more sort of meant stop talking to the media and almost like increasing that pressure on yourself and just try and just head down and concentrate. I wonder whether he meant it more in that sort of way.
And as I say, if I'm being balanced here, there's been times where I thought Lewis has overstepped the mark this season. So to that point, Betty, if you'd had said it like you've just brilliantly articulated it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if my grammar was very good, but
no, I think you've articulated it marvelously. I think the point I'm getting, as I'm really trying to be balanced here, the point I'm getting at is there probably has been points where they have taken it too far, particularly on the Lewis side, but you're going to expect that. And regardless of that, coming into the press to do it is not the right thing to do. I'll be interested to see if he's here this weekend. I'm talking to you from the morning of media day, so it'll be interesting to see if John is in the paddock this weekend. If he is, it'll be interesting to see, because he'd get asked about it. He'd get TV cameras thrust in his face. Now, if you were a print journalist, you would go and talk to him about it. You just would. It'll be interesting to see whether he takes the opportunity to row back and say something like, didn't quite come across how I intended it. I've spoken to the drivers, because he needs to have sympathy for the fact that his drivers are interviewed 3-4 times over the course of a race weekend in the pen, all the extra interviews they do, the frustration of a 24 race season, given that the car isn't where it needs to be. It's so easy to turn around and say, oh, well, you need to be better than that, guys. It's really tricky to control yourself for a whole season when you're having a microphone pushed in your face all season and you're having a bad year. I'd have expected a bit more of an understanding from my boss in that situation. So I think it's not ideal, and it'll be really interesting to see what follows on from it.
Also on that, you're expecting drivers, the sport is expecting drivers to speak straight after coming out of the car. Yep. So we know that, they're dehydrated, they're knackered, their mind is probably frazzled, they've got adrenaline running through their veins. Think they're going to say things. They just are. They're going to be asked questions and they're going to... Well, exactly. Talking about Lewis Hamilton, he's never completed a season without making it onto a podium before in his career. Doesn't look like that's going to carry on, does it? Do you think Lewis Hamilton is going to get a Ferrari podium at any point with the last remaining races?
If you pushed me for that answer straight, no, I don't. But I think go back a couple of Grand Prix, we were saying that things have improved. He's then had a bad one last time out. So I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility, because there have been times where he's looked way closer to Charles Leclerc in qualifying. Generally speaking, post-summer break, his averages to Leclerc in qualifying have come right back down, and bar a couple of outliers, it's not been too bad. So I think stranger things have happened, but it seems unlikely.
It's such a shame, isn't it, though, Christian? Because it does feel like he's very close. Every driver seems to struggle, obviously, when they get in a new car, don't they? And it's taken Lewis quite a long time this season. But the last few races, it feels like things are starting to click, doesn't it?
Yeah. Obviously, Brazil was a bit of a shocker. I mean, it was for both the Ferrari, but then there was a run fourth in the USA where he wasn't far off. Mexico wasn't great either. As I've said, he's had a couple of duff ones. But then prior to that, I mean, granted, you look at the finishing positions with the likes of 8th in Baku and 8th in Singapore, but that doesn't tell the full story. There have been times in that where the pace has been much closer. So it isn't beyond the realms of possibility. Listen, Lewis Hamilton, he hasn't been able to get to grips with this generation of car. We've spoken before on the podcast. Alex Brundle, when we had him on for a race debrief, spoke really well on it a while ago now, that the advantage of late breakers in this rule set, the drivers like Daniel Ricciardo and Lewis Hamilton, who've really got advantages from being able to be last to the late breakers and get the car slowed down and still in control and still manage to get your foot on the accelerator at the right time to maximise your exit of the next corner and maximise the next part of the track. That it's tricky when you build all of that sequence on last of the late breakers. It doesn't feel like your Ricardos and your Hamiltons have quite been able to get to grips with that with this rule set. So you've got to bear in mind that it's a rule set Lewis Hamilton doesn't particularly get on with. A car that by both drivers accounts this season is tricky. It's been the perfect storm. To me, and again, I've said this before as well, next season is where we're going to really see, okay, where is Lewis Hamilton? A whole new car, a whole new rule set. Leclerc's advantage of knowing the car for so long is reset, and then we'll see where he is. I actually think there is reason to be cheerful for Lewis Hamilton. As I say, he has really, those qualifying performances in particular, I don't think it's quite as bad as some of those race results say. But all right, it matters for the likes of us, Betty, going, oh, Hamilton's not been on the podium, etc., etc. I don't think it matters in general. I don't think it's a massive thing because next year is key. I don't think it's massive that we could say, oh, Lewis hasn't been on the podium. There's been many factors behind that you can unpack.
So there's reasons possibly to be optimistic for Lewis Hamilton. Do you think there's reasons to be optimistic for Fred Vasseur? Is he in trouble? Because obviously Ferrari haven't, by their high standards, haven't had, the best season. Things are a little bit tricky. I guess there's a breakdown in communication possibly as well in the media.
Well, again, Betty, it all goes back to next season, really. Securing second in the Constructors would be important in the sense that them coming third would be a disaster, considering Mercedes have basically, in many ways, written off the Constructors this year in order to bring through a young driver. Mercedes know that if they'd stuck Carlos Sainz in the car, they'd probably have more points than if they had Kimi Antonelli, but they believe this is a long-term thing worthwhile. And I agree with them, by the way. I think Kimi's had a great back end of the season. No worries with Kimi. But when they've had that rookie driver in the seat, if Ferrari still can't take second in the Constructors' Championship, it's bad. So second in the Constructors' Championship, I think, is fairly important for morale. But Fred Vasseur will be made or broken next season by the rule changes. They need to come in and be competitive. They just need to. I think teams that struggle next season will find management and drivers really under pressure quite quickly because how long we've been talking about 2026. You know how long the sport's been talking about 2026. Ferrari are exactly the same. So to answer your question, Betty, we won't know until Australia next season. But I talk about Australia next season, round one, right? If Ferrari are bad in Australia, I guarantee in our post-race debrief we'll be talking about is this bad for Fred Vasseur? It'll come that quickly. If Ferrari struggle at the start of next season, they will come for Vasseur straight away. So in answer to your question, Betty, to be confirmed, they need to limp through to the end of this season, put some of the behind-the-scenes chat to one side and go and regroup next year when it will all be really significant next season.
They've got two incredible drivers, two really, really good drivers in their team. You can't see them struggling again next season, surely.
The drivers don't worry me. I think if you give Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc a good car, they'll be fine. It's history shows us they've not won a drivers' championship since Kimi Räikkönen in the 2000s. It's not the drivers that are the issue here, it's the car. The big question marks are whether Ferrari can give those drivers the right car.
Okay, let's take a very quick break, and when we're back, we'll preview Vegas. Christian, the end of the season is getting so incredibly close. The championship battle has been insane. We're all going to miss it so much when that final race of the season comes around, aren't we?
I mean, I'm usually ready for a break at the end of the F1 season, but you just kind of don't want this one to end, do you? Like with so little in it, with Lando and Oscar going between them. But like the winter break is getting shorter and shorter. So there's us saying we don't want this season to end, but 2026 will literally be here before we know it.
I know, I think you need a holiday, to be honest. I think we all need a holiday. But us sports fans, we're so fickle, aren't we? Because instantly there is going to be a whole load of new storylines that we are just going to get carried away with. Whole load of new drivers that we are going to get behind and say that they're going to win the championship. And there's also going to be brand new cars for everyone to get used to as well in 2026. And a whole new flipping team joining the grid as well. There is so much drama. I just love it. I love it.
So much drama. But that means now is actually a good time to start plotting out which races you might want to get to next season, because with F1 only getting bigger and better and more exciting, tickets for Grand Prix, they get snapped up so fast.
And that, Christian Hugel, is where our good friends at Gullivers come in. We've spoken about them a fair bit this season, but if you haven't heard of them, they're basically a cheat code for getting you to your dream race weekend.
And what's been so lovely is the amount of you who've been in touch saying you've used Gullivers and you've either gone or are going to a Grand Prix. You guys are actually getting in touch with Gullivers, and it's absolutely brilliant. You guys are telling us how brilliant they are, because as we all know by now, they just take the faff out of all of the logistics that come with following F1 around the world. And trust me, as someone that goes to a fair share of races, if I could pay someone to take care of my travel, accommodation, getting me to and from the race, just letting me enjoy the racing, I would give them a blank check. Take all of my money. Here is my debit card, because honestly, it can be a nightmare. It's so worth doing, having Gullivers just sort it for you so you can enjoy Formula One.
Here is everything. Take it all. Because you always get lost as well, don't you? So it would actually be really helpful for you. It's also pretty mad that you can get everything in one place. And Gullivers have already started taking bookings for the 2026 season, everybody. So you need to get on it already. If you head to gulliverstravel.co.uk, you'll see packages for some of the most iconic circuits on the calendar, like Silverstone, Monza, Spa, and also Monaco.
Yeah, Gullivers take care of everything, and there's even Gullivers tour managers on hand at every race. Like, it can be daunting when you're at these tracks, a long way away from home, in the middle of a foreign country that you don't know. So having somebody just there to talk to is amazing. They make sure every detail of the race weekend is taken care of. That website, again, is gulliverstravel.co.uk. Get planning your 2026 Formula One season right now.
Okay, so Max is 49 points behind Lando Norris. We know Max loves Vegas. Is this his best chance, Christian, to take some points away from McLaren?
I don't think so, because it's been so up and down this season. I don't think you could class this particular race as more or less of a chance than Qatar or Abu Dhabi. You could certainly come around and say McLaren have struggled in the cold weather here recently, so on that basis, yes. But actually, I think that's just guesswork. I actually think if he's going to take points out of McLaren, it could happen anywhere, because this is Max, right? We can throw logic out the window. He could just find the right setup and blitz them anyway. So I actually don't... There'll be people who say yes to that question, Betty. I just don't think it matters that much. I think Max and Red Bull have been so up and down this season. It wouldn't surprise me if at any of the remaining three races, Max is just the quickest car. I just think that's where we are. They could turn up at any point and win the race when we don't expect them to. Look at Japan. That's a very great example. No one expected them to win there. Yeah. But where I think your question is pertinent, Betty Winglover, is he's sort of got to do it here, really, because time's running out. I think...
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so much of what we've said of is Max still in it? Is Max still in it? Well, it's now or never time, because we're running out of Grand Prix. I think we're in the position where if Lando and Oscar finish ahead of Max at the end of this one, it's all but done. and it's looking unlikely already. So he's got to not only go and win the race, which, as I've just said, is more than feasible. He could do that at any point, but also he's got to hope something bad happens to Lando and Oscar in terms of an 8th, a 9th, the spin, what have you, which, as we'll get onto in a bit, if it's going to happen anywhere, could happen here. It could, but it could happen anywhere. This is the thing. No one would have expected some of the performances we've seen. No one would have expected the sprint race problems from McLaren. So yeah, it's just anyone's guess.
On McLaren, we saw Oscar made a few improvements last time out, but obviously had penalties and errors. They were his massive issue. Do you reckon if he can continue those improvements and just stay clean, keep his head, keep his fighting spirit, he can get himself back into this?
Well, yes, I do. It is far from beyond the realms of possibility that Oscar Piastri wins this championship. There is enough of a driver in there to turn up this weekend, do a better job than Lando and win the race. There is enough of a driver in there for Oscar for us to see Vegas as another switch in form where Oscar turned it back round and did well in the remaining 3 races. I don't think it will happen. Lando was very good in Abu Dhabi last year, for example. So it's starting to feel like more Lando territory to the end of the season. And I think Lando is in such a good place that I don't think he'll let that happen. But to your question, Betty, answering your question, yes, that is possible. I don't see Oscar as a different driver to the one that I said will win championships at the start of the season. He's made mistakes. He's in bad form. There's starting to definitely be more credence to the theory that upgrades McLaren have made don't suit him as well as Lando. And that's a massively significant thing too. McLaren are sabotaging Oscar and are making the car in favour of Lando. That's a different thing to actually things we've bolted on the car don't suit me quite as well as they suit my teammate. Because that's just the run of the mill. That's the luck of the draw. That's how upgrades work. So I don't think...
Though. You'd be like, oh, guys, just leave it alone.
The thing is, they were being beaten by Red Bull, so they couldn't just leave it alone. The feeling here, the talk here, the chat here is that Lando is now the overwhelming favourite for this title, that it's his to lose, that he's the man in form, that he's the one that looks like he's going to quite comfortably turn up and maybe get one more win in a couple of seconds and take home the title. But as I say, Oscar Piastri is a bloody talented Formula One driver who I'm convinced his time will come. Don't rule that out. Don't rule out chaos, Lando being spun round or an icy bit of track. There's so many variables that could still go into it, and that is why it is still open. Lando is the favourite. Lando is the one you'd want to be going into these final few races, but don't rule anything out yet.
I am intrigued to see how McLaren are going to approach this race, though. Do they just sort of stay out of trouble? Do they try and play it safe and just stay clean? What do they do? I'm asking that question, but in my head, I'm thinking, well, you know what they're going to do. There's 2 incredible drivers who are professional sportsmen. They are going to go out there and try and win, no matter what happens. Oscar has to. I think it'll be intriguing to see how they both approach this.
I don't think you can change anything, particularly from the Lando side of the garage, where, all right, yeah, we know that he only needs to come second, fine, but I don't think you can change anything from your approach. I think McLaren are just going to do what they've done all season and let them race until they realise that, something might have favoured one or the other, then they'll do what they've always done. McLaren won't change their approach. Lando certainly won't change his approach, because why would you? Because he's been going brilliantly these last few races. He's the man in form. And you don't do the soccer football cliche of playing for the draw when you're ahead. You just carry on and you aim to win and you race to win. You never change that. And if you're Oscar, exactly as you pointed out, Betty, all right, there was the moment in Brazil where he went off. We know that. But that aside, exactly as you said, Betty, you're right. pace-wise, it was a step up from where it had been. He wasn't quite as lagging behind Lando across the whole weekend as he had been before. So if you're Oscar, you've got to just trust yourself and keep plugging away. He'll come out of this slump. I firmly believe that. Whether that's next season, as I said, whether it's this weekend or next weekend in Qatar, he'll come out of this slump. In the meantime, he just needs to do what he can.
He does indeed. We know that Mercedes thrive in the cold. They do well in the cold. We know George Russell likes Vegas. We know Verstappen likes Vegas. Do you think George is the favourite coming into this?
I don't know, Betty. It's obviously my job to analyse the sport on this podcast, but I think it's really important to say when we don't know things. And I don't think it's as simple as just to say Mercedes ran in the cold well last year, so they will this year. To go back off what I said at the top of the show, Vegas is such an outlier because even when we go to tracks where it is cooler and we're outside wearing jackets in Japan or at Silverstone or in Spa, you're still there in the summer. So it's still not cold. As I said, counter to what I said at the top of the show, where I'm getting off the plane, it's like icy cold wind, rain blowing it down, and the weather is changeable this weekend. So rain could well play a factor. It's an outlier. These cars are simply not used to racing in winter mode. It's like when I don't know if you ever played the old rally driving games as a kid. I'm guessing you didn't, Betty. But like I did.
Simpsons Hit and Run I played though.
Yeah, but okay, fine. And you put winter mode on and all of a sudden you're driving around in snow and it's icy. That's what the Vegas Grand Prix is. But I think Mercedes I've heard people chatting about them a lot in the run-up to Vegas, and you start to look ahead and you start to go, okay, where's going to be a Red Bull track? Where's going to be a Mercedes track? And Mercedes have been really quick to say, look, Vegas is an outlier just because our car worked last year in the cold. It's not like that's a known characteristic that we will definitely, history shows us it's ran well in the cold, but they're not as confident as to turn around and go, yes, it's cold weather, therefore we definitely think we'll be able to win this Grand Prix. Because it's just not that easy. It's tricky. It also might be a step colder than it was last year. Vegas is such an outlier of conditions that I don't think anyone is coming into this weekend knowing who's going to be quickest in a season that it's been very difficult to come in knowing who's going to be the quickest anyway. So yes, I still think if you were going to push me for a winner, I probably would say George, based on what we've known, but don't expect it to be a slam dunk. It's cold. Mercedes will be fast. It might well turn out that way. But last year, right, they did well all weekend. I was on American radio previewing the race, chatting to those guys. I remember the expert they had on said, oh yeah, but I don't think they'll be able to keep that pace up in the race. They've been good all weekend. I don't think they'll be able to keep that pace up in the race. He said that because Mercedes had been saying that. Mercedes had sort of been quietly going, I don't think we'll last. It's lovely to have a pole. And then they won. And afterwards, you sort of had them going, well, that was good, wasn't it? We're not quite sure why we've been so great. And Mercedes have had similar moments this year. So, yeah.
They have. When George Russell was like, oh, I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why that car was good. I don't know what happened.
It's not a slam dunk that Mercedes will just dominate this weekend because it's cold, because they've historically done it in cold. Vegas is too different, to be sure. And plus, Betty, sorry, I'm on a bit of a ramble here.
You are.
But
it's okay.
Thanks, mate. I also just think this is where the drivers come in a lot. Something that's probably not talked about enough is how difficult it is to get the cars to grip when grip is low. You need a certain amount of bravery to generate heat in your tyres, to generate heat in the car, in the brakes, to make sure you've got grip when temperatures are low, when there's rain. So if you're too cautious, you will end up spinning. If you are not cautious, if you are overzealous, you'll snap the brakes, you'll snap the rear away, and you'll end up in the wall. In a weekend where it's possibly colder than we've seen before in Vegas, where we might well have rain in play, we are in territory where the drivers could really, really make a difference here this weekend. That would be my sort of noted preview. It's so hard to drive these cars in cold conditions. They're just not used to it. So mistakes could be a big factor this weekend, individual errors and individual driver performance where you've got differences between teammates, because I think this is a weekend where the driver could really make a difference because they're going to earn their money this weekend. It's going to be it's a tricky ask driving these cars around this circuit in these temperatures.
So what I'm hearing is that Max Verstappen is going to win. That's what I'm hearing from what you're saying. That's what
that's a very logical place to have gone with that analysis, Betty, that if you're saying the driver's going to make a difference, you go, well, Max, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, you could well be right, pal.
He's not bad. He's not bad, is old Max Verstappen.
No, and he's historically gone well around here. Even though he didn't win last year, he's historically gone well. Obviously, clinched the championship here last year as well. Was that last year? God, I can't remember now. I remember him singing Vegas down the radio when he'd been previously slating the circuit. So, yeah, he's picked up the championship here. So, yeah, it is Max territory. Don't rule that out either.
Also, what I'm hearing from what you're saying is that it's going to be a very exciting race because basically we can't really predict it. It's not going to be just an easy thing to predict.
No.
Anything can happen, and that's my type of race.
Yeah, I don't like coming on and going, it's going to be a belter, because even races that sometimes you think are going to be a belter then turn out to sometimes be a bit of a damp squib, such as sport. All sports get this. But logically, Betty, it should be a belter.
It's going to be a belter.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Woo! Yeah, because as you say, tricky conditions, drivers making the difference, cold weather, cars not used to running in these temperatures, a street circuit. This track, you either love or you hate Vegas. I think it's lovely that Formula One tries new things. I'm all for the Vegas Grand Prix. But whether you like the event or not, the track's produce good racing. You can overtake around here. So it's a track that produces good racing, unpredictable conditions, drivers making the difference. You know me, I don't want to make a bold prediction, but I think it will. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't the greatest Formula One Grand Prix in all of its 75 years.
What a statement.
It will be the best one. I think this will be the best one. I think this race
is going to be the best one.
It's going to be the best one ever.
Everyone in the UK is going to wake up at 4 a.m. with no regrets whatsoever. Yeah. They're going to be buzzing.
Yeah, imagine if it's terrible.
It probably is. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible. Max is just going to win it. Fine, done. You said damp squib earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Where's she going with this? Yeah.
I used to think until very, very recently.
I know where you're going
with this. Bearing in mind, I am 30 years old. I thought it was damp squid, and I still can't believe that it's damp squib. Squib. What's a squib?
Oh, I do like these damp squid. Fast Curious Pod. Actually, it's not really Formula One related, but sod it, will do what we like. Fast Curious Pod on the socials. Where have you thought that you? A saying and that's not a saying before? Betty's damp squid is one. I'd like to read some more of those out of the debrief.
What is a squib?
I don't know.
Why is it damp?
What is a squib?
I'm going to Google it. Sorry, guys.
While you're Googling that, just another thing to mention, Betty, as well, while you're Googling squib. The Constructors Championship is something we should also really keep an eye on. Racing Bulls in 6th on 82. Aston Martin 7th on 72. Haas 8th on 70. Have come right back into it recently, not least because of Ollie Behrman. And Sauber on 62. The Constructors Championship is fascinating, and we should really keep an eye on that. That's when last 3 races, we'll really start to think about that. That's something we should really focus in on this weekend. It'll be a real in-focus point, the Constructors Championship battle this weekend.
Yeah, we definitely will. Just if anyone cares, squib originates from fireworks. So squib is a small firework that is supposed to ignite with a loud hiss and bang. If it's damp, then it doesn't work. I
didn't know that. Genuinely didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
It's informative, this podcast, isn't it? I'm surprised it's not on the BBC because we do both inform and entertain, don't we? It's quite Lord Reithian, this podcast. I've often thought it.
Oh God! Right, I think we need a break just to recalibrate the brain cells, and then we'll come back and actually talk about Formula One. Hello, welcome back to the Fast and the Curious. We are going to talk about F1 now and F1 only. We're not going to go off track. We're going to have no damp squibs. You mentioned the constructors earlier on. It's interesting that you're talking about how it's really interesting at the bottom. It's getting really intense. Why does this matter so much for the teams? Explain to us why this is so important.
Always worth reminding people, for those newer to Formula One, that the Drivers' Championship is potentially a bit sexier. It's the one that gets the attention,
Headline.
the headlines, and that's not just because Charles Leclerc's in it. It's generally considered the sexier championship. But the constructors is the ones that matter to the boring people upstairs, the bosses, because quite simply, you get millions more dollars in prize money the further up you finish in the Constructors Championship. Now, F1 don't publish exactly how much it is, so we don't have exact figures, but you're talking millions and millions here. That's, Haas coming 7th to 8th really does make a difference in terms of prize money. And yes, we're operating under a cost cap, and yes, most of the teams do reach that cost cap, but don't underestimate how important prize money is to these teams, particularly going into a new rule set. And it's particularly important to the smaller teams whose income shouldn't be taken for granted. So your Saubers transitioning into Audi, your Williams, your Haas, teams that have historically not had the budget of your Mercedes, Red Bulls and Ferraris. It matters massively to them. Of course, we mentioned at the top of the show, with Ferrari wanting to get second, that matters more for pride, to be honest. Let's be honest, Mercedes coming second to Ferrari coming second, they've got the money. It's not as important to them, I'll be honest, but it's much, much more important to those teams at the bottom, not just for pride, but the prize money makes a significant factor. On the flip side to that, there is the sliding scale of aerodynamic development. So the team that finishes
always catches your attention.
Oh yes, it's a speaking of sexy, the sliding scale of aerodynamic development. The sliding scale of aerodynamic development. Ooh. Alpine that finish 10th, we're imagining will finish 10th in the Constructors' Championship. They will get the most amount of time to spend developing their car in the wind tunnel next year. 9th will get the second most. The consolation to not coming as high up in the Constructors' Championship is you do get more time in the wind tunnel. So that's why it matters. It's very important, particularly for that middle block of teams as well. I mean, you just look at people in there like Aston Martin. Aston Martin will not want to be being beaten by Red Bull's B team, for example. Again, they're focusing all on 2026 and the Adrian Newey era starting proper, but they're just not going to want to be there. And credit to Ollie Behrman because he's dragged Haas back into that. So, exciting stuff.
Also, buzzing for Williams. They're doing well. They're up there.
Yeah, I mean, we can't say enough how much of a good season they've had. Absolutely brilliant. You'd have expected them to be in that hunt for 7th, 8th, 9th, but they were right up there. And barring miracles of a team like RB getting a 1-2 or something, they'll get 5th. So, which would be phenomenal for them, considering that they have been focusing on 2026 since about 1986. So,
it's all James Vowles talks about.
Yeah.
James Vowles.
Morning, James. What would you like for your breakfast? I think 2026 breakfast is going to be important for us. So, yes.
I can't talk about that because 2026.
Well,
let's just quickly talk about F1 Academy before we wrap up, because the championship is going to be decided in Vegas. This is all very exciting. It's been a brilliant season, hasn't it? Dorian Pan is 9 points ahead. She's had a great season, hasn't she, Christian?
She has. I would say the pressure is on her. 9 points is a decent enough buffer to go into a final race. And she's been right up there. So it would be a surprise if Maya does it. The one thing I'd say is if you draw back to when we had the likes of Chloe Grant, who was in F1 Academy in the first season, she was previewing the second season. And she was saying that Dorian is sort of the more experienced racing driver. A lot of people were expecting her to win the title last year, and Abby Polling won the title. And there was a moment I've spoken about on the podcast before in Miami last year where it was all of a sudden like, Abby is a realistic title contender here, and went on to win the championship. So I think Dorian's been sort of expected to win the title. So I think there's a bit of pressure on her there. I don't think she'll put that pressure on herself and feel that pressure. I've interviewed her a couple of times. I think she's really nice. She's really funny. She doesn't strike me as the type to go into a race nervy or stressed about the situation. So I would say she's the favourite. As you say, Betty, she's had a really, really good year. And I think the series has had a good year as a whole. If you've not seen our interview with Susie Wolff yet, go and watch it on the YouTube channel. Listen back on the podcast feed. It's brilliant where we talk about the growth of the series. And what I have loved going into this Vegas weekend is seeing so much on my socials the Hello Kitty tie-up that Susie spoke about. I mean, if you're new to this podcast, most people won't be if you've got to this point of the pod. Most people will be loyal listeners, but we don't take the sport too seriously. And therefore, we appreciate when other people don't take the sport too seriously. And what's really lovely is seeing the sort of bright pink Hello Kitty merch everywhere. Not just sort of being proud of being, if you are a girly girl, as sort of Susie spoke about on the podcast so well, that you don't have to be a tomboy to be in sport. You can be anything you like. There's that side of it. But there's also, for me, the just having fun and having a big, fun brand partnership like that. It's this sport is so much better for having F1 Academy in it and around it. And in the week, there was the confirmation that all the teams have signed up to continue, all the Formula One teams have continued to sign up to back F1 Academy and use their brands in the series, which is great news. You know, the sport is doing such great things in showcasing to young girls that, look, motorsport is out there and it's out there for me. And it's just lovely seeing it continue to grow in its popularity, in its reach, and having those moments like the Hello Kitty stuff where everyone's talking about it, where it's like, oh, look, that's cool, that's fun. So thank God for F1 Academy. We need it in this sport. It's great. So it's been great to see the sport take another growth forward this year. Great to see the series take another step forward. And whoever wins, it's been a good year. There's been some phenomenal racing. There's been some absolutely fantastic action. So it's absolutely brilliant.
You talk about her mindset going into it. I just read a quote from her where she said, well, we're leading, so we're the best, right? So we just keep going. We just keep doing what we do.
You know, when, like, and not that wouldn't be a quote from her, but like, yes, that is the most Dorian Pan thing to say. She's so sort of matter of fact and quite chill. That is
logical.
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, we're winning, so happy days. That is exactly what I was getting at when I said she doesn't seem the type to put pressure on herself, and I hadn't heard that quote. So I suspect she'll be fine. But yeah, it's been a really good season.
It has been a really good season. They've also had 8 different winners across 12 races before this. So, I mean, it will be interesting to see what happens. Loads of points up for grabs over this weekend in the F1 Academy. Anything else you want to talk about, Christian?
No, other than now lesser spotted on the podcast, Tyrrell's Titbit, where producer Will Tyrrell gives us some information that we hadn't heard before, Betty. And I didn't know this, that Mercedes have come out with a George Russell 150th Grand Prix celebration T-shirt to congratulate him and Lando on this milestone. In fact, producer Will has just sent me this. Let's just have a look. Oh, it's fun. It's a cool T-shirt.
Oh, it's him. It's him making the number, Christian.
Yeah, no, it's him. Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, right.
I'm more commenting on the T-shirt, love. That I think the T-shirt's cool.
No. I'm talking on the T-shirt. The 63 is made out of his pose.
Oh, I see. I thought you were saying that George is wearing the T-shirt. I'm like, I can see that.
I know it's him.
Like, it's him wearing it. Oh no, it's him. You're right. Yeah. Oh, I'm with you. Right, that's fun. It kind of looks like the shirt I'm wearing. It kind of looks like this pattern. I mean, it isn't, but yeah, it's a nice T-shirt.
No, it doesn't.
I just know. All right, fine. Suit yourself. I sort of think though, like, all right, yeah, it's nice that we've got a Russell celebratory T-shirt. I sort of think a celebratory T-shirt for George Russell's 150th isn't appropriate. I sort of feel like with George's sort of character and personality, which we love, by the way, this is all said with so much love. We love George. I sort of think it should be like a carriage clock or something, or a plaque. A carriage clock.
No, it should be a pen.
A pen, yeah. A celebratory, commemoratory, that's not a word, commemoration pen. Do you know what I mean?
Clipboard.
A notice board, a community notice board.
Commemorate George Russell.
Yeah.
I miss our community notice board.
We'll bring it back. Bring back George Russell's community notice board. That's where we just go through the bits of F1 news in detail. Thing is, there hasn't been any F1 news this season. It's just been all McLaren.
It's better than your cubbyhole.
I've never liked the name cubbyhole.
No
It
one
always
wants to
weirded
go
me
to
out a
your
bit, but yeah,
cubbyhole.
fine. Anyway, right, go on, Betty. What's your top 3?
Oh, okay. If you insist, I'm going to go with Max Verstappen P1. I'm going to go George Russell P2, and I'm going to go. What about the McLarens though?
Don't worry, we'll wait.
I'm going to go Lando P3, and no. Oh,
Let's just put
okay.
this.
Shove George off. Shove George off. George goes P3. Lando P2.
That was the most shambolic prediction you've offered all season.
Is it? Why?
I'm still not fully sure what you've said.
No, neither am I, to
Right.
be honest. I can't even remember who I said was going to be P1 now. Max. Max will be P1. Let's just leave it there. I'm unsure about the others.
I hope people come to this podcast for our skills and analysis. I'm going to go with Russell P1, Verstappen P2, Hamilton P3.
What about McLaren?
I don't think they'll be on the podium.
Yes, they will.
Well, I think it'll be cold, and I think the car won't suit it, and that's why.
Oh, they were like 6th and 7th last year, weren't
Well, that's
they?
it. Yeah. It's not beyond the realms of
Doesn't make
possibility.
sense. Oh, interesting. Well, we'll find out, won't
We
we?
will.
And we're going to do a debrief, guys. So make sure you listen to our debrief. It might be less coherent than this, but we'll give it a
This
good
hasn't been
crack,
our
won't we?
strongest episode, so goodness knows.
I'd give it a solid 6 out of 10.
I'd say 6.
Maybe.
Yeah, 6 out of 10, generously. Innit? End of the season, though, innit? We can't be expected to be on great form.
No, we're crawling to the end now,
We're
aren't we?
limping over the finish line. We really are. Absolutely limping over the finish line. So yeah, apologies for this sort of episode, but we've had a go, haven't we? Right, Betty, I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna go to the gym, then I'm gonna go to the circuit.
Oh, well, have a fantastic time, Christian.
Thanks, babes. Look forward to speaking to you on the early hours of Sunday morning for me, the not so early hours of Sunday morning for you. And yes, please follow us on all the socials. We will be back straight after the Las Vegas Grand Prix. From me in Las Vegas and from Betty in Manchester in the United Kingdom. Goodbye.
Which is colder than Las Vegas. Goodbye.